The story of Banff National Park was written by the Canadian Pacific, completing a coast-to-coast railway west all the way into Vancouver. And Jasper National Park was the Grand Trunk Pacific, forging the largest engineering project to date in Canadian history, going almost 5,000 kilometers west to Prince Rupert on the edge of the Northern Pacific. But Waterton's story has nothing to do with the Canadian Railway. The story actually begins in the 1850s with the Palliser Expedition, a British exploration led by Captain John Palliser, pushing west from Thunder Bay into the Rocky Mountains. But internal conflict with his lieutenant would lead to Thomas Blackstone leaving the mission and exploring southwest on his own, and where he would ultimately end up mapping what we now know today as Waterton Lakes. The area sat untouched until about 1902, when the first oil strike in Canadian history occurred just outside of Waterton, and those 300 barrels a day of oil would lead to the first settlement in today's town site, completed by 1910. And by this time, the Great Northern Railway had flourished to become one of the biggest passenger rail providers in the entire United States. Headlined by their flagship train, the Empire Builder, running from Chicago west en route to Seattle. And the Great Northern had constructed a series of beautiful Swiss chalet-style hotels across the state of Montana to embrace the beauty of the Rockies along this route. And the year 1913 would see President Louis Hill identify a dramatic hilltop just over the edge of Upper Waterton Lake for a new iconic lodge. However, World War I would delay all construction, but by 1924, with Prohibition over in Canada and thirsty Americans just across the border, plans kicked back into motion, and the idea was simple: build a luxury hotel on the Canadian side and lure guests to cross the border by boat to ride the Empire Builder west to Seattle or east to Chicago. And since none of Canada's railways had reached into Waterton by this time, this was a goldmine of an opportunity. They would break ground in August of 1926, and despite many setbacks, a year later on July 25th, 1927, although the hotel didn't look much like its original plans, she was finished and she would open to the public. And the hotel would be named the Prince of Wales Hotel, and hoped that the actual Prince of Wales himself, Edward VIII, would catch wind of this and come stay at the hotel. But almost 100 years later, I can confirm for you right here that he has never stepped foot in the Prince to date. The hotel would attract visitors from all over and draw growth to the town site, but without an actual train to import or export passengers, its growth was pretty much capped to the mud roads into town from Cardston and Lethbridge, or Americans coming by boat over the lake from Montana. Now, at first glance, I did find it a little bit suspicious that the Great Northern Railway officials were so desperate to get a few stiff drinks in them.
Julian! I don't know where I felt like I get a little drink around here, do you, bud?